to you just a piece of meat? Hey guys, welcome back. Long time no see. Where have I been? On another planet. So I know I haven't posted in maybe a year and a half now. That is due to school difficulties, but nobody cares about that. Long story short, I know I haven't posted in a while, and that's because I couldn't really find out what I wanted to do, what my niche was on YouTube. Obviously on TikTok, I do movies, and I was thinking to myself, why don't I just start my YouTube channel up again? But this time, with movies. So Maddie, what are you gonna do here on YouTube? I'm so glad you asked, person on the other side of this computer. Do you ever watch a movie and you're like, what did I just watch? It could be a really good movie, but you just don't understand what just happened. I'm here for that. A lot of the time I do find myself looking up a movie, Google search ending explained, because I'm lost. It's the dyslexia. Do you also ever just Google things that you might have missed in a movie? I'm here for that too. And also just to discuss movies, a lot of which probably I have already recommended or will be on my TikTok page. Profile? Page. So, welcome back. Maddie, thank you very much. Today, we will be talking about the movie that I just recently recommended on my Instagram, Fresh, which is a movie that recently came out in January of 2022, so earlier this year. I thought that this movie would make a really good YouTube video because while it doesn't have a lot that I can explain, it does have some good things that I can point out. There are 4 main things that I'm going to talk about in this video. The movie's ending explained, who is Anne and why is she working with Steve, how does Steve choose his victims, and a little hidden Easter egg, which I thought was kind of important. So I watched this movie late at night, in the dark, wasn't feeling particularly hungry, but decided that I'm never gonna eat again after watching this movie. So if you don't know and you're watching this video and you wanna save it for later, basically the movie is about this woman who tries out dating a lot and she just can't seem to get it right. No guy ever really works for her. The beginning scene is just so cringy, really bad. Anyway, she just can't seem to get dating right until one day in the grocery store this man approaches her, and he's a really good looking man, and he basically starts flirting with her and asks her for her number. They end up going on a date, and she tells him that she doesn't have a lot of family. Her dad died and she doesn't even know where her mom is, which is perfect for what Steve wants to do later. So basically they hit it off, they really like each other, and he says that he's going to take her away for the weekend. So they're in the car and they're driving to his place because they need to stop at his place for the night. She goes into his house, he makes her a drink, she drinks it, he drugged it. So she wakes up chained to his basement floor, where he proceeds to tell her that he is slowly going to chop off parts of her body and sell it to cannibal strangers. He says that he's going to do it very slowly, piece by piece, because it keeps the meat fresh. Which is pretty horrifying to think about, because what if you woke up in a basement and some stranger told you that they are gonna chop off parts of your body piece by piece? Ugh. Anyways, that is the end of the movie recommendation. Don't watch any further if you don't want it to be spoiled for you. So moving into the movie, moving into the heart, the meat of the movie. The meat of the movie. I hate myself. This is horrifying. She is trapped in this basement. She can't get out, and some guy that she basically just met tells her that he's going to basically slowly eat her and sell her to strangers. While she's in the basement, she meets 2 other girls that are there that are also being slowly eaten alive. Penny and Melissa. And she can hear them through the wall, so that's how she knows that they're there. Penny explains to her that she's been there for God knows how long, and that she is also being slowly eaten. So, to answer the most pertinent question, I believe, what does the ending of the movie mean? So there are 2 ways that I interpreted this. The first one was my immediate thought, which I feel like could be right, but is probably not the correct answer. Not that there's a correct answer to interpreting the ending of a movie, but this is just what I think is least likely to be the most commonly thought ending. So in the movie, you find out that Steve also goes by Brendan when Mollie finds his house and visits it, and she meets Anne, who is married to Steve/Brendan. Mollie basically tells her the whole situation, her friend is missing, and Anne is like, I have no idea what that means. I have no idea what's even going on. And honestly, I'm led to believe that she really didn't know what was going on until Mollie tries to leave, and she basically catches Steve in a lie, and then Anne hits her over over the head with some sort of object and knocks her out, which shows you that she's obviously involved in the whole cannibalism thing. So that is where you meet Anne, who's a little creepy, and at the end she realizes something's wrong when she walks to the kitchen. She goes out in the woods and she tries to find the escapees, and obviously they've killed Steve. Go off queen, and Anne comes across her dead husband's body in the woods, and she doesn't seem to really care, which is a little eerie. She just looks at him and says to her partner, make sure to put his body on ice as soon as possible. Then she finds Noah in the woods and puts on this act like, oh my god, thank god we're free now, and then she tries to kill Noah. Like, come on girl, just stick to one thing. So there are two ways that I interpreted this. There is a scene where Anne is in the house and she goes to take a shower and she takes off a prosthetic leg, which is when you realize that she had something to do with the cannibalism, whether she was one of Steve's victims or she did that herself. Now hear me out, this was my initial thought just based off of the ending, but at first I thought that she was actually like the creator, the ringleader of this whole cannibalism thing, and she like cut off her own leg and tried to eat it, and then she brought Steve in with her and they started this partnership where they did this whole thing taking girls and selling them. I realized that could be a little bit of a stretch because I don't know why you would cut off your own leg, but the reason I thought that was because she was just so cold-hearted to seeing his body laying there on the ground, and she just tells the guy to put his body on ice because I guess that they were gonna eat his body then. I guess keep it frozen, keep it as fresh as possible. She was just so cold-hearted, I thought that maybe she was the ringleader because she said put his body on ice, we're gonna eat him, or something. Now, the second conclusion to this, which is probably the more probable conclusion, is that Anne was actually one of Steve's victims. So originally he must have drugged her, kidnapped her, chained her in the basement, and taken off parts of her leg, which is why she has the prosthetic leg. Now, just like Noah, he probably really liked Anne and took a special interest in her, and eventually she probably gained his trust and they got married. So that would be the more probable ending explained, is that she was a victim of Steve's and then she gained his trust. They got married and now they're partners in crime, literally. Now for the second question. Why is Anne working with Steve in the first place? Now I was a little confused on this question, so I always like to Google what other people think. And according to ScreenRant.com, Anne represents the victim who ultimately sides with the oppressor, and worse, who keeps others down to get ahead. Now, we all know people like this. They just need to be on the winning side, on the worst side possible. They say in here that she is the type of girl that does not support girls supporting girls. She just needs to win. She needs to be on the best side. Screen Rant says that Anne seems to have warped feelings for her captor. Not only does she empathize with Steve, going so far as to marry and have children with him, but she actively helps him harm other victims, which we learn when she literally knocks Mollie out unconscious. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Fresh screenwriter Lauren Kahn says that Anne represents women who don't support other women. Girls supporting girls? I think not. Even though she's presumably one of Steve's victims herself, she has fully aligned herself with him and even tries killing Noah for him, weighing keeping him happy as more important than the other women he has mutilated and murdered. Facts. She just cares about the winning team. So I agree with that, but I also think there is the component in wanting to survive versus getting eaten alive, literally. I think she just went along with it because she saw that Steve saw something special in her and that he would keep her alive so long as she married him and kept going with this whole thing. So yes, I think the first thing, she doesn't support other women, but also survival of the fittest. She just wanted to stay alive, so she married him and just continued with it because she didn't want to die. Third thing, how does Steve choose his victims? I think this one is kind of obvious, but we're still gonna go over it. Steve will find an attractive woman in public or wherever, and he will approach them and ask them for their number. They'll go out on a date and he always asks about their family because that is such a crucial part. If they have family, their family's gonna wonder where they are or go out looking for them. So he always preys on women that don't have family, because who's gonna look for them? Except for Noah, because she got her best girlfriend, Mollie. So basically this tells Steve that nobody's gonna go out looking for them. He probably does this to a bunch of women, but the majority of them probably do have family, and so he just says, nah, see you later, girl. And they're all brokenhearted, but little do they know that they're not gonna be eaten alive. The other thing is when he brings them to the house, he must have control over the cell service and the Wi-Fi because Noah could not text Mollie and tell her where she was. He's obviously capable of turning it back on because he was texting Mollie through Noah's phone, pretending to be Noah, pretending to be all alive and safe. Okay, stop. This is a cut-in. I had to film this part later because I didn't think of it until I was in the grocery store and I took this picture of myself and put it on my Instagram story, which by the way, you should follow my Instagram. And something just clicked in my head where I thought of 2 more things in the movie, which I feel like could be a stretch, but it makes sense in my head. Are we ready? Are you ready for this? Okay. When you're in kind of like a coma or a non-responsive state in like a hospital or in the medical field, you are referred to as a vegetable. They met in the vegetable aisle, in the produce section. That is where he asked for her phone number, in the vegetable aisle. And he slowly turns women into vegetables, pretty much. As I just said that, I just realized you eat vegetables too. Yeah, that's not a coincidence. And the second thing that I thought of as I was standing there in the grocery store, this one is less of a stretch. I feel the one I just said is probably a stretch, but this one I don't think is a stretch. I think this was on purpose. I gasped while I was in the grocery store and I thought of this. The movie is called Fresh. And the produce section, the vegetable aisle, is the freshest section in the grocery store. And he's in the grocery store because... Oh my god, I just thought of another thing. He picked her out at the grocery store, which is where you buy food, which is where he picked her because he was gonna eat her and he was gonna sell her, and she's food to him. She's food. She is food to Steve, and he picked her up at the grocery store where you buy food. End of story. I just put together like 4 different things on my own while I was in the grocery store. Anyways, now the last thing that I would like to point out, which is kind of a hidden Easter egg, which Screen Rant actually pointed out to me, because I didn't really think about it like this, but there's a scene after Noah's butt cheeks have literally been taken away from her. She's laying on her stomach and she's flipping through magazines. And there's a small note in the binding, like in the crease of the magazine, that says something along the lines of, if you're reading this, he really likes you, just keep going, like try to get through it, right? And I didn't really think anything of it. I thought it was maybe just another victim that he really, really liked, like Noah. But Screen Rant thinks that that note might have been from Anne, who then married Steve. So that's just something to think about. That could have been Anne's cell, and she wrote that note to whoever comes next. I guess he gives that magazine to very special ladies. Okay, for real, the last thing that I really want to point out is that Noah and these other women, like, they're kind of treated like garbage, or as you would say, a hunk of meat. Like, what am I to you? Just chopped liver? Chopped meat? I'm not a piece of meat. You know what I'm saying? And so that was like the whole thing, that she was being treated just like a piece of meat and she was being taken for her meat. Literally. And in the beginning of the movie, she goes on a date with Chad, and at the very end of the movie, Chad texts her and says, "You up?" Which is literally treating her like a piece of meat. A metaphorical piece of meat. And she will never be free of being treated like meat, whether it's metaphorical or literal. Okay guys, that's literally it. While this movie didn't have as much to discuss as other movies, I believe, or as many hidden Easter eggs, I did think it was a very good movie, and it honestly has some pretty good ratings on IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes, which is not something you see very often. A lot of movies, whether they're good or not, just have terrible ratings, but I thought this movie was pretty good. To be fair though, it is a pretty fresh, new movie, so you gotta give it time. But this is a movie that, I mean, I gagged a few times, but it really had me intrigued and it really had me just nervous, which is what I love about movies. They do something to you. You don't want to just sit there and watch a movie and just be bored. So I would highly recommend this movie, but definitely to older, maybe 15 plus audiences. Again, if you want to watch it, you can only find it on Hulu. And just remember to remind yourself that it's just a movie. Anyways, thank you guys for watching my YouTube video. I'm definitely going to be coming out with more of these, and I really, really hope that you like, comment, and subscribe, because that motivates me to post more of these. Thank you guys for watching, and I really hope you enjoy the movie.